All right, so with that being said, we will move on to Easter Sunday's main event, back to the UK. We had the rematch. Liam Cameron and Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker, the former silver Olympian medalist in 2020. Both guys from the UK. Big fight over there in the UK. And in part, large part, because of the controversy of the first fight. Both guys tumbled out of the ring. Whittaker said he was unable to continue. And 6 months later, we were able to get the rematch. This time around, Whittaker makes some changes, brings Andy Lee in as his new trainer in his corner, and looked very impressive, didn't waste any time. In the second round, he catches Whittaker, winds up getting the stoppage. Now, I said in the last fight, I thought about you with analogies. I was thinking about you again watching this fight. I always think about you watching the fights, but what you talk about sometimes, the punch not to throw, right? What's the punch? What is the best punch to throw? The one you don't throw. You always talk about how a jab, how important it is, but how dangerous of a punch it is, because it could get you in trouble if not used the right way. He threw a slow, lazy jab where he pushed it in range, and he got caught with a right hand over the top, wasn't able to recover. In the end, second round stoppage by Ben Whittaker. I just want to ask you, obviously, your thoughts on this rematch of Ben Whittaker, but also on the stoppage. Some people out there thought it was a little premature. What'd you think of the stoppage?
First of all, I'll take it in my order that I think I need to take it in. To your point, I always say it. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. When you see a guy get hurt, when you see a fighter get knocked out, when you see a big punch land, 99% of the time you can count on it. I'll keep saying it till I turn blue in the face. It's because of a defensive flaw, because of a fundamental technical flaw by the opponent. That they did something wrong to lead. The punch didn't just land. They did something wrong to lead. They stepped back with their hands down. I remember the great body snatcher Mike McCollum. He knocked out Donald Curry with that left hook. When Curry stepped back, he had a habit of stepping back from too close with his hands down. He gets hit. Well, left hook, the fight's over. The flaws are what they are. There's like a half dozen of them. I can name them. I can make a list. I can make a book out of things not to do if you want to be a champion. And it would be a handful of things. You know, not moving your head after you punch. You know, covering too slow, like you said, after a jab. Throwing the jab from too close where he's close enough to hit you with right hand. In this case, it was what you said it was. I'm going to take it a little further, bud. It wasn't just that he was throwing a jab. You know what it really was if you watch the replay? And we're going to get it because our man Ben is the best. Ben Garcia is the best in the business, and he will get that. He will get that up there for us. He was starting in his mind. You know when you got in your mind to do something, you never get it done. Yeah, you're starting to do something, but something happens. You don't get it done. He wanted to throw a left hook. Never. How many times did you hear me say? You've been in the gym with me too. Never lead. I don't let my fighters lead with left hooks in front. I'll jump in the ring now in the middle of sparring and say, you can't do that. And you got to learn now. I'm not going to let it go because you don't learn that. You're going to do it somewhere down the road. And you're going to pay a real price, even if you didn't pay just now. You never lead with a left hook. Simple. Even I was there in the classroom when they taught that a straight line beats a round line. Straight beats round. Not complicated. When you lead with a left hook in front from the wrong place, the wrong range, you leave a hole for right hand, a straight right hand to get in there. He was starting, I know it looked like a jab. He was starting to throw a left hook. It never got there. As he was starting to throw it, the right hand got there first. And that's why he got hurt so bad. He never saw the punch. In his mind, if you ask him, what's the last thing you remember? I was going to land a left hook. I was going to throw a left hook. I don't know what happened after that. Then he gets hurt. Now to the rest of what we want to deal with and what the fans are asking about as far as the fight goes. I thought it was a quick stoppage. But I thought it was... I thought it didn't matter. I thought that the result was going to be the same. Maybe the guy even gets, maybe you take a chance he gets hurt, but I don't think that it changed the result or the outcome of what it was going to be. But yes, I thought it was a quick stoppage. I thought they could have waited a lot. But I also thought it was very smart and well prepared and showed me the preparation of Whittaker and the help of his new trainer, Andy Lee, where once he heard him, one thing that Cameron was doing, he had the earmuffs on. He was keeping his hands on peekaboo, where the clean punches were not really available where you normally want them, in front, because the gloves were there in front. Where the clean punches, the openings were available with that peekaboo there, was behind the glove. And that's where he aimed them. Once he heard him, he realized, and I think it was preparation from his trainer, that they did their work. They did what you're supposed to do as a fighter and trainer. They looked at tape. They went in there with a game plan. They went in there understanding what their opponent did, his strengths, his flaws. They knew that he would cover up. So if you get him hurt, aim behind. And that's exactly, he wasted no time. And I give Whittaker and Andy Lee great credit for that. I recognized that right away. And I said, wow, job well done. Well prepared. He started throwing. If he would have threw maybe in the front, it would have been blocked. But instead, he threw it around the glove and they started to land. It was just a matter of how many more punches. I mean, yeah, I'll say it again. I thought he could have waited a little bit, the ref, no doubt about it. But at the same time, he got it right. You could also say, hey, he saved him from possibly getting hurt. And then you could argue, the fans could say, but Teddy, we've seen guys come back, where if the referee would have stopped it there, you wouldn't have had that great comeback. I hear you. I've seen those fights. I've been there. But I don't think this was one of them. Okay? Because I think from the beginning it was meant for Whittaker. He was prepared mentally, physically, technically. It was his night. Cameron was not the guy he was in Saudi. Whittaker was not the guy he was in Saudi. Whittaker was better prepared, more focused, whatever you want to call it. But he was ready to behave and fight the way he needed to as a fighter who's supposed to have a future. Cameron that night was ready to behave and fight like a guy who was going to doubt that that guy was what they were building him up to be and was not going to let him have that career. He fought that way, like this guy hasn't been proven yet. This guy hasn't been tested yet. This guy hasn't been through what I've been through yet. I'm going to test him tonight. I'm going to think that he's not ready for a veteran like me. I'm going to find out if he has those intangibles tonight. And on that night, Cameron was ready to fight that fight and be that guy. Whittaker was not ready to be the guy that he was the other night, to be the guy that truly was going to be the real deal. He might have taken him for granted. I don't know what it was. I know what I've been in the business 50 years. He was not what he was in Saudi. He was the guy that he had to be here because he had been forewarned that you can't take a guy like this for granted because his record was 23-6-1 or whatever it was. Somewhere in that area going in, I don't know. But where he had 6 losses or whatever it was.
23-6-1.
Yeah, that you can't take him for granted. And again, the difference was Cameron said, no, I've seen this movie before. Where a guy who's the star, who's the pretty boy, who's the flash in the pan, he's being built up. They put him in with a trial horse like me, and it's supposed to be his coming out party. No, I'm throwing a wrench into those works because I know I have the experience to do it. That was the difference. That was the difference in the fight. Cameron from the beginning did not look ready. He was too, and some people say, well, Teddy, that's what he is. But he was better the first time. And look, Whittaker was better here. I said it already. But Cameron, he covered up. All he did was walk forward. He didn't come in behind the jab. He didn't move his head. He just put, like I like to say, he put the earmuffs on and he did the peekaboo. But the peekaboo, you're supposed to move your head. He didn't move his head. He just walked straight in. You know, he did the peek, but he didn't do the boo. You know, that's not good. And he walked in. He was getting hit with the jab. He wasn't using his jab enough to keep Whittaker defensive minded with something coming back at him. He was coming in a very slow. His feet was slow. His closing was slow. He was very, very one-dimensional, as I said. And that wasn't going to get it done. That immediately Whittaker recognized, no, I'm going to be able to do what I want to do. Set the table with my jab, and then at the right time, I eat with the right hand. And he did. I'll finish with this, bud. The final thing to me is this. I think this fight was over before it started. I know people, I have a different thought on things. I know people are going to say, some of them are going to think maybe this or that or think I'm crazy. But I said it in the preview of the fight last week. I think that there's certain fighters in their career. I think Muhammad Ali was one. I'm not putting Whittaker in that class. I think it happened to Bernard Hopkins on his way up earlier in his career. I think it's happened to several fighters. Certain fighters are chosen. They're chosen by a destiny, by a fate, their talent, their hard work, their dreams, all of that. But it's like it's in their destiny to get there. And I've seen it. I've seen fights where Ali against Cooper, where he gets caught a left hook and he's hurt. He gets dropped. He gets up. He's hurt. He goes back to his corner. I don't know if he's going to be able to recover in time with 1 minute. But what happens? Suddenly, out of nowhere, look, I know he had a great cornerman. Angelo Dundee, one of the greatest cornermen of all time. God bless him. God rest his soul. But all of a sudden, there's a little tiny rip in the glove. Someone else wouldn't have noticed it. It never would have been noticed. Wouldn't have been. It wasn't big. Nobody knows. The ref didn't notice the fight. Nobody would have noticed it. But all of a sudden, Angelo says, no, we got a rip in the glove. Now, they could have said, nah, it's not that bad. And the fight could have went on. But they said, okay, they changed gloves. By the time they changed the gloves, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, Ali is recovered fully, goes out there, and what happens? He wins the fight. He busts up Henry, who was prone to getting cut. Good left hook, but you could hit him, and he was very prone to getting cut. And then Ali goes on to be Ali. If he loses that fight, he don't go on to be Ali. I think it was in his destiny. There's certain guys that was meant to be. Then the next fight he fights Cooper, he wins easy. So here's a fight where he's going to get beat. Whittaker's going to get beat that night. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't know whether or not he didn't want to get up. There's both arguments that when he went out of the ring that he wasn't as hurt as he said. He could have got back in. Whatever it was, he recognized it wasn't his night. Whatever. But destiny shined on him that night. He did get a way out of a fight that I don't think he was going to win that night. But he got out of it. He got a chance. Destiny, fate, whatever. He got a chance to get another shot at it on a night that he would be better, on a night that would be his night. And what's he do? He wins easy. I've seen this before. I know people want from Teddy Atlas more tangible stuff. It's about he didn't move his head. He timed him. I understand all that. But sometimes it's about other stuff too. Call it spiritual, call it whatever you want to call it. Call it destiny. Chosen. I don't know where this guy Whittaker's going. I don't know how much for you. I think he's with the right guy with Andy. I think it's only going to better him. I think he's on the right track now. But I do think that there was more at play. I'm sorry. Than just he got lucky. And he got out of that last fight. Yeah, he got lucky because I'll say it again. I think that night Whittaker was going to beat him. I mean, that Cameron was going to beat him. That night. But he got out of it. Whether it was the hand of destiny or was him just falling out of the ring and getting lucky. Whatever it was what it was meant to be for this kid at this point in his life. Now, I am interested in this kid because that's how I feel. I want to see now what's in his future. I want to see, is he one of those guys like I described where Ali went on to be? Of course, there's only one Ali, but Bernard went on to be what he went on to be and, again, go down the road.
Yeah, we have seen this before, and like you said with Bernard Hopkins versus Robert Allen, the first fight, he did fall out of the ring. He did not continue. Fight wound up being a no contest. Gets some time, comes back for the rematch, gets the knockout. So a great example with the Ali one as well. I blame the management a little bit, or give credit for Whittaker's management and corner, right? Tim Tszyu, that fight, maybe he should have went back home, went back to the drawing board, came back. He'd still have his O. He'd still be undefeated instead of losing his belt or the opportunity to win the belt versus Fedora with the bad cut.
That's a good point. The corner, look, a trainer is very important in the gym, teaching, very important, preparation, fight plan, and then very important, like I said about Angelo Dundee. One of the great, I mean, he was involved with one of the greatest fighters of all time. It was a couple of them, Sugar Ray Leonard too. A lot of good fighters he was involved with. A lot of good. His brother Chris Dundee was the big promoter down in Miami. He had all the big fights. He had all the big fighters. And he allowed Angelo to serve his apprenticeship while he was doing all these promotions and get an opportunity to work with these great fighters. And Angelo made the best of it and became one of the great cut men of all time and one of the great cornermen of all time. But again, if Muhammad Ali doesn't have Angelo Dundee in his corner at that time to be clear-minded with all the chaos going on, his fighter, undefeated fighter, just getting dropped, coming back to the corner, staggering, if he didn't have the wherewithal, the mind to not panic and to think clearly the way he did, it could have been a whole different story. We wouldn't be talking the way we're talking about Muhammad Ali right now. So yeah, it's important the trainer's important, the corner's important to be able. Sometimes you don't need them. There's times when you say, I don't even know who worked the corner. I didn't even notice them. But there are times, and when those times do come, you are very grateful you have one of them in your corner at the right time.